All right, Fantasia Fest.
Day two for us.
Yeah, film 3.
Yes.
But funny enough, this will be the first one that you guys see
Hmm.
because this is the first one, like in line of embargoes.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, this is the only one currently of all the things that we've gotten that isn't horror. That I didn't really understand wasn't. It just had it labeled as classique, and I was like, I don't know what that means. And then I requested it, and we started watching it. And we were enjoying it, and I was like, well, whatever. And they said that if you request something and you watch it, you need to review it. So
We are reviewing all the movies we requested, even if they're not horror.
yeah,
So
I was hoping somewhere along
we'll
the
put
way
it-
horror would come into this, but no, there's no horror, there's no thriller, there's no nothing like that. So bye to most of
maybe
you.
we'll put like in the title or the thumbnail that this isn't horror. So hopefully you didn't click on this if you were not, expecting something different.
So the Bearded Girl is about a group of performers led by our main character's mother. And we start in the past, and we see there's kind of a rite of passage with their mystical beards, women with beards. There's a long history of this going on in the family, something they're very proud of. And one of the daughters is growing, it starts to have some facial hair, and the other one does not. Nor does she want it. And then we jump forward in future time, or the present time, whichever way you want to look at it. And we have 20-something-year-olds, and one is a performer as a bearded lady in their carnival show, and the other one is their promoter, but she's kind of distanced herself from the show. And the one who has the beard, she wants to change things up. She wants to do things a little different. Mom's not listening to her, so she says, you know what? Maybe this isn't the life for me. Maybe I need to go find my own way out in the world. And so, against her mother's wishes, she ventures out into the real world as a bearded girl.
Yes.
The movie is, kind of like this quirky dramedy. And at first, when it started with kind of almost like a mysticism to it, and the family lineage and the ritual that they have and all that stuff, I was like, okay, like I expected something from this film for it to go into a certain area. But then kind of once we pass that place and then we get into the family drama and she leaves home, and I'm like, okay, she's going to have like a Babe Pig in the City kind of like experience where it's not all like you think it is, and the world can be wonderful in certain areas but really dark and scary in other areas. I don't know. I just feel like this movie never really achieves what I would expect it to set out to. I'm trying not to let my expectations dampen my experience or what the film actually is, but it's just very anticlimactic in almost all the areas, which was a bummer because I really initially liked this, and I do like the characters. I like the acting. I think the movie's well shot. I think that the acting is quite good, and I think that there's potential for the story here. But I just don't know. I just don't feel like it really goes anywhere. I don't really honestly even know, like, I don't know. There's not enough conflict, and there's not enough drama, and there's not enough, I don't know. I don't want to say too much. Sorry.
No, I feel like basically the same way. Like, I was pretty into the vibe of the movie when it started. I like the acting and the characters and stuff, but as the film went on, I did just kind of feel like things kind of got muddled, and that there wasn't enough of a clear plot. I don't know if plot's the right word, but
Point.
maybe. But it's also not really like a hangout movie, so
No.
it's not that thing. Like, there's a definite drama happening. There's a definite, like, drive for the character. It is a self-discovery story, and there is all this, kind of added family drama and drama surrounding the land and everything. And yeah, I just felt like the ending didn't wrap things up for me in a satisfying way. Like, it kind of just, like, ended and then things were resolved, but I didn't feel like we really, like, earned the resolution.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bummer because, like, for the first, like, half of the film, I was really interested,
Yeah.
and I was, like, engaged.
Yeah.
And then as the film went on, and especially in the last act, it just, like, really lost me, and I was not as engaged anymore, and was just kind of like, okay. So that's where I landed on everything, where I felt very unsatisfied with the ending. And it's not an ambiguous ending or anything, and I don't have any problem with ambiguity, even if it was, but that's not the case. Like, things get wrapped up, but just in a very...
Way
like,
too neatly.
In a very neat, and unsatisfying way. And I've already said unsatisfying, but that's how I felt. Like, that's how I felt finishing the film, was unsatisfied. So, which is a shame, because I liked, like I said, the characters, like the performance. I liked the style, like the way the film looked and everything. Like, I think there's a lot of other stuff going on with the film, so my real issue, I guess, is just with the story itself, like the ending of the story. So, yeah.
There's characters that are introduced in this movie, and you think they're going to have some big subplot with them. And then you literally never see them again in the entire film.
Yeah.
And it's like, she meets someone, and that person becomes integral to her living situation. And there's this very cute connection between them at first. And then they just go away. And then she leaves that situation, not saying goodbye, not interacting with them in any way, never literally seeing them again on screen, or really even almost ever talked about. They even come up with this kind of like harebrained scheme of what they're going to tell people. That doesn't really ever become anything. There's drama that's set up but never really delivered on. There's a relationship in the movie, and it kind of just peters out towards the end, and it's just the big drama, the big hubbub. It's really not much of anything. And then there's like another thing that happens in the movie that you kind of guess because of something that happens in the early stages of the film, and you're like, okay, this is probably the way this is gonna go because of something that's red. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, this is probably where we're gonna go with that. And then literally, like, post-credit sequence where it's like resolved and comes to fruition, but it's so kind of out of nowhere because the film doesn't really set it up in any way throughout, where you're like, oh, that's where we're gonna land in this movie with these characters. But like, why? We don't really get to know them together. I don't understand how that happens. And then the big drama surrounding the land dispute, that is the biggest amount of like nothing in the film. Sure. Where in the end you're like, we're just done with that? That's it? And then there's a post credit sequence where I'm thinking, okay, we're going to address something here, and it's just used for a gag and there's nothing to it. And I was like, oh, so that was literally for nothing. I don't know, man. I just feel like the film really like starts to build to something, and then it just kind of loses its way, and then it wraps things up because they don't know what else to do with it, and then the credits roll.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel a bit disappointed with this one. I think there's a lot of like good things about the film. I feel like we talked a lot about like our just, I don't know, feeling about like how everything went, but yeah, it did end up to be kind of a bummer of a watch because of the disappointment.
I mean, the whole gimmick of the story is that she is a bearded woman, and that she has a connection through her lineage to her family, and like a birthright to this, and like this is her identity that her mother's put through to her and is forcing her into it. And out in the real world, no one's going to really accept her for who she is. and it's like, I guess there's just not enough. And I think this is probably just realistically the fault of like reality, where it's like, this isn't really that big of a deal. And even in the film where they try to exaggerate it to be a big deal, it's really not, because it's just a beard. Like, she literally shaves it, right? Like in the film, and it's like, she's totally normal, right? So like, yeah, you know what I mean. It's just like, it's not really that big of a dramatic thing, in essence, anyway. You see what I'm saying? It's not like some deformity that, and this doesn't make anyone less than, but it's
Sure.
there's like John Merrick in The Elephant Man. That is something that he has to live with.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to treat him differently, and the world is cruel to him, and there's nothing he can do about it. Or like you know, racism in movies where someone's born black, and obviously throughout it's like they can't hide the fact that they're black or anything.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like,
yeah.
It's like me, I have a beard, and if I don't want a beard, I just shave it off and it's gone. It's like, it's not really anything.
Sure.
And the movie kind of illustrates that point throughout.
Yeah, it does. And I agree. I don't really know. I guess, yeah, it's hard because at another point in history, like flashback into the past, bearded women would have been very like, whoa, you know, like
Sure,
the androgyny and everything. I think this is modern day. I was like kind of trying to think. I'm like, I don't know if we see a phone, like a cell phone, but
yeah, I mean, if she had like a fucking Instagram account or a TikTok account, she'd probably be huge.
Well, yeah,
People
I just
be like,
now in
"Don't stop
modern
body
times,
shaming
like
her."
there's a lot more acceptance for, I guess, different, you know, people that look different. Not that there still wouldn't be people that are like totally assholes and like I don't know. I know what you're saying, and I do agree to an extent, because I think that the medium, like the film, is using the bearded woman as this like metaphor that I don't feel like it's fully realized.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it like sort of lacks some substance, I guess.
Yeah.
And that feels like, I feel really pretentious saying that, but I don't know, that's just like kind of how I felt. And
I'm not saying that this movie couldn't work. You 100% could make this work.
Yeah.
And like kind of the merry band of carnies and whatnot that she hangs around, like there's nothing to any of it. It just doesn't go anywhere.
It's just, there doesn't feel like enough of a, like usually with these movies when they're talking, and not that it has to be the same thing, usually circus performers, right, there is like a community, the tight-knit community, right, is something that I think they do accomplish in the film, but then it's typically because the outside world that, you know, people are either cruel to them or don't understand them or whatever, like they feel like they have to stick together. And I didn't really, I think because the film is more focused on her, and it's mostly focused on her, like, in a romantic sense, it also kind of fell flat for me because it doesn't really feel that it's about, like, self-discovery, because I think discovering yourself is also, yes, it involves, like, finding, like, love, like, a partner or something, but it's also way more than that. And I think that a lot of the film ended up focusing on her with, like, a guy, and like whether or not he was going to accept her for who she is. And I think ultimately it's supposed to be like, well, she accepts herself for who she is, but it also didn't feel like she really did that much like thinking about like who she was. Like it just kind of was like her sister shows up and is like, you don't want to shave it every day, right? And she's like, yeah, no, I don't. And then it's like, okay, yeah, like obviously having to like hide a part of yourself every single day is horrible. It would weigh on you, and it would be so annoying to like pretend like you're not who you are. But again, it's like, it's very superficial, you know. It's like it's not talking about like the experience like she has with her family, with her mom, with like it's not like missing those people or like, you know, anything like that. And so I guess like that's kind of where like the more I think about it, that's where it's not like lining up for me, is that it doesn't feel like a self-discovery film. And maybe that's not the intention. Like maybe we're totally missing like whatever the intention of the film is, and that's definitely possible. It's just our interpretation, like watching it, and the kind of, you know, thing that I was not like lining up with is the fact that she's not really doing that like soul searching that I thought she was kind of going to do, I guess.
I just feel like the film doesn't build very strong relationships at all.
Yeah.
I would say that the best like connection we see in the film is very short lived, and that is our main character with this farmer named Harold.
Yeah.
And that's like the cutest, most sincere
Yes.
relationship in the movie, and it's all of like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Her relationship with her like boyfriend guy, I don't know, I barely bought into any of that. Like, they're both attractive people, and they're together, and she's into him, but there's not really any reason for either of them to be into each other. It's almost like there is a superficiality to it, and purposefully. Sure. So I don't know. Anyway, you got our thoughts.
That's it.
That.
Yeah.
Wasn't even horror anyway.
Wasn't
so
horror.
It's not really something we should be covering on the channel.
Didn't end up being for us.
No, and I really liked the trailer. I watched some of a trailer, and I was like, okay, you know, hopefully it'll go in like a thriller horror kind of route, or even just like adjacent something
sure,
like super
yeah,
fantasy that's like oddball.
It's
and
not
it's like genre film.
Yeah, it's not really that. I think it's a pretty straightforward film. It's not very reality adjacent. It doesn't feel that, at least to me. Just kind of quirky, maybe with some of the dialogue and like,
but barely.
Stuff. But not to an extent that you'd be like, this is unbelievable. People don't, like, we watch a lot of films like that are just like, really.
It's like it couldn't commit to one or the other.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
kinda
overly quirky.
Kind of like her. Kind of like her character.
Yeah, it's not like overly quirky.
Yeah.
Right. Like a Wes Anderson film or something.
Yeah.
But it's also not really that realistic either.
Yeah.
That was an odd blend there for me, because I was like, oh, this is gonna be like, Big Top Pee-wee was one of the ones that I had mentioned, because that's set at a carnival, and there's very like random, weird, interesting, unique kind of quirky characters. I mentioned another title while we were watching this. I'm blanking on at the moment, with like, carnies and such. But yeah, just anyway, this is way too long.
All right,
guys. We'll see you in the comments.
Bye.